So Californians moving to Utah oftentimes experience a mix of really good emotions as well as some regret. And along with that comes a mix of excitement as well as challenges. And while many Californians really appreciate the natural beauty of the landscape here in Utah and everything that Utah has to offer, as well as in some cases a lower cost of living, there are certainly challenges that come along with adapting to a new home, especially if you're moving from California to the state of Utah. So it is my goal in this video to outline the top reasons why Californians do regret moving to Utah and why some of them are actually moving back. Now, to start off, Salt Lake City has been a transplant city for a long time. And in fact, between 2015 and 2019, we saw an average of 121,000 people moving to Utah each and every year. And then we all know what happened in 2020. Things just exploded. And as this population explosion occurred during and after 2020, a lot of the people that moved here that did find a home in Utah are from the state of California. Now, I have a unique perspective with this because my wife is from Southern California, along with her entire family, and they've made the move here as well many years ago, long before 2020, but it helps me gain a better understanding in terms of why people are choosing to move here in the first place. But that's not all. I also help people make that move from California each and every single day. In fact, this week I had a new client just make the move and get into their new home here in Utah after coming from California. And I get the same stories over and over and over again as to why they're choosing to make that move, because when I have these conversations with people that are moving to Utah, my first questions that I like to ask are, why of all places are you choosing to move to Utah? Number two, why are you choosing to move away from where you're coming, in this case, California? And what's got you most excited? And maybe what's got you most anxious? And maybe it's just keeping you up a little bit at night. What guidance do you really need and look for? And I've done other videos where I'm explaining the pros and cons of California versus Utah. I think we kind of all know what those things are, but I'm also stumbling across articles of people that have made the move to Utah and now they're choosing to make the move back. There are many articles where it's highlighting the story of someone specifically. Maybe they moved from the Bay Area or perhaps Southern California down in LA or San Diego, and they've made the move here for a few reasons. Affordable living. Maybe the political scene is a little bit more in line with what their core values might be. Maybe they're looking for more opportunity, and perhaps they're even looking to start a business, because in California, starting a business is incredibly difficult compared to what it takes in the state of Utah. And first off, I'm not here to defend Utah, nor am I here to sell you on moving to Utah. I think there's a great perspective that comes with having lived in Utah my entire life, along with being married into a family who's all from California. This perspective, along with the ability to serve clients that are moving here each and every day from the state of California, has given me a great perspective. One of the things that I'm noticing across the comment sections of my YouTube videos, especially those videos where a lot of locals are chiming in, a lot of the local people here are continuing to say things like, don't Californicate my Utah. Please do not change the state that we live in. And I would argue that honestly, most of the people that are making the move here are doing so because they align more with the values that are here in the state of Utah. Perhaps they're making that move for that very specific reason. So I don't think it's fair to say that everybody that's coming from California is ruining our state, but at the same time, I completely empathize with the locals that have that sentiment. And it seems like the reasons that many Californians are choosing to make the move from California to Utah can be quite different. And there are many high-powered individuals like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Ryan Kavanaugh. Why are these people choosing to leave the state of California? Well, I would argue it's high crime, it's high taxes, and it's homelessness. These are the reasons that they felt like it's better for them to leave the state of California. And I see that happening a lot as well with the people that are making the move to Utah. All right, so let's just jump right into my list of things that are going to drive the decision as to why people choose to make the move back to the state of California. And first and foremost, let's start with the cultural differences. Now, the social scene here, people don't make the move to Utah for the nightlife, and they probably don't make the move here for the incredible diversity that we have in the state of Utah either. But what they do make that move for is the family-friendly environment, and of course, the safe environment. So those are certainly reasons to move here, and some people might look for and want more diversity in terms of the influence. This state of Utah is greatly influenced by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where 42% of the state identifies as members of that faith. If that's not something you're looking for, you might find it a little uncomfortable in terms of a Christian community where people want to stick to those values. And oftentimes, if you're an outsider looking in, sometimes sometimes it can feel a little uncomfortable, especially if you're more introverted. If you're not an extrovert, you might not seek out those opportunities to connect with people. But in my experience, there's something here for everybody. So ultimately, it comes down to each individual's personal experience and what they experience when they make that move here. But the social dynamics and the culture is certainly one of those reasons why people might feel like they're maybe a fish out of water here in the state of Utah and choosing to make the move back. All right, the next one is my wife's biggest thing, and that is the weather and the climate. Now, if you've come from Southern California, you're spoiled. You've lived in the greatest weather of anywhere in the world. You have the best weather year-round. It's 74 degrees in the winter months down in Southern California. And if you come to Utah and you experience those 4 seasons and those winters where we do have snow and it does get cold, but also the air quality here. The air quality here in Utah can be just as bad, if not worse, than the air quality in LA. So the air quality, the seasons, the cold weather in the wintertime, those things can certainly be a driving factor as to why people choose to make the move back to California, but also the beaches, right? Every single person that makes the move to Utah from California, they will miss the beach. If you haven't checked out a map, we don't have a beach here in Utah. We don't touch the ocean, right? We are a landlocked state, but in lieu of a beach, we do have those beautiful mountains. And those mountains, especially the Wasatch Mountains, are the thing that pretty much takes people's breath away, no matter where you're from, but especially from California, because those mountains are right on top of us here where we live, and we can literally be in those mountains within just 15 or 20 minutes. All right, next up, let's talk politics. Now, this is usually a mistake, in my opinion, to talk politics on this channel, but the conservative politics of Utah might not be appealing for some of the people that are making the move from California. And this is the source of a lot of the heated debate in terms of some people here in Utah just don't want Californians coming and changing the way that we live. It's those conservative policies that are ingrained deeply into the culture and the fabric of this society here in Utah. And some people don't like that. It's not the best placed. And I go back to conversations that I'm having in the comments on my videos, and one conversation in particular really stood out. To be honest with you, this is not the best place for a liberal feminist. It's okay. There are different states for different people, and this might not be the place for you. And so if that's a thing that's really a concern for you, you might want to look into it, but you might find that some of those people that are choosing to move away are doing so for that reason. All right, next up, let's talk jobs. Utah is one of the greatest states in the country for jobs, but it is a little more concentrated. There are a handful of industries where the vast majority of those jobs are, whereas in a state like California, it's one of the most diverse economies in the world. Even if it were its own nation, it would be in the top 5 economies in the entire world. So in Utah, we're a little bit more limited, of course, in the industries that we have here. You might not have those niche jobs in those very specific fields that you might find in California. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is networking, to not only broaden your perspectives or expand your job opportunities, but also in starting a business. When you move to a new state, regardless of whether you're moving to Utah or Florida or Texas, it doesn't matter. If you're from California, you're basically essentially starting over. And for you to plug into that community and really network with those professionals, it takes time. It's likely not going to happen in the first year, but as you build those relationships with people, you will make those connections over time. But it does absolutely take patience, especially if you're starting a new business. Now, we have a ton of people here that have made the move from California and have succeeded in starting their business. And the surprise that many people realize is how many people that are just like them that they can actually find here who've also moved from a different state and even from California. And so the job market, while it is very strong, might be a reason why some people choose to make the move back to California. All right, next up, entertainment and lifestyle. So of course, Southern California especially, but throughout the state of California, the nightlife, the entertainment options, the concerts, the sporting events, you're in one of the best places in the world. If you're coming to the state of Utah and making the move here, you're not going to have the same thing that you have in California. We've only had one major sports team most of my entire life in the Utah Jazz. Now we do have a professional MLS soccer club as well in Real Salt Lake, but we are more limited. And although we do have a growing sports scene here in a new hockey team in the NHL that's making its debut this fall, but also the hopes of gaining a Major League Baseball team here will definitely put Utah on the map in terms of making Utah a mecca for sports. And the 2034 Olympic Games that will be hosted here will add to that as well. But beyond just sports, we're talking entertainment options. We're talking dining. You're not going to come close to what you experience in California. That's not to say that there aren't good options. if you want great sushi, if you want great ethnic cuisine from whichever culture you're looking for, there's going to be something here for you, but it's much, much more limited and usually focused closer to downtown Salt Lake City. So if that's something that's really important to you, whether it be entertainment, all of these things, you're not going to have as many options as you do in California. Okay, next up, I want to touch on this one. I don't know if this is really a reason why people choose to make the move back to California, but it's transportation and infrastructure. We do have public transportation in and around Salt Lake City and throughout the suburbs of Salt Lake City. But beyond Salt Lake City, if you go north into Davis or Weber counties or down south into Utah County, we pretty much are limited to just bus systems and the front runner train. If you're coming from California, you're going to have much more of a system that the public transportation is built out, that infrastructure is built out. But I would argue that the traffic here in Utah is far better than what you're going to experience in California. And so, yes, you have to drive most places if you live in Utah. No, you're not going to be in a walkable neighborhood for the vast majority of the people here. Now, we do have those neighborhoods. We do have those locations where you can have your cake and eat it too, but it's growing, it's developing, and it's going to take more time for this infrastructure, for these systems to really be built out. But does that mean that our commute times, the average commute time, is worse or better than California? I would argue that it's much, much better. The average commute time for someone who lives in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area is 22 minutes, and that fares really well compared to almost every single city in the Western United States. All right, next up, let's talk about housing. So the housing market here is very different than where you're coming from in California, and it can be a challenge. Utah's housing market has become very competitive. We don't have enough inventory, and the prices keep going up. In fact, over the last year alone, prices continue to rise, and they went up another 5.8%. Even though the market for the last 2 years has pretty much run sideways, we still see values of homes here increasing, and we still have a shortage of inventory. We're simply just not building enough to keep up with the growth. And for some people that are making the move from California, you might think in your head that perhaps it's going to be much easier and better and less expensive. And to some people's, they might find that it's more expensive than the part of California that they're coming from. They might find that it's more competitive, and that is certainly true in many cases. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on is the style of homes might not be something you're looking for. So adapting to a new state, adapting to a new culture, adapting to new homes, and the style of those homes, it can be a real shock for some people. And so it's worth noting that that is a driving factor as to why some people are moving back to California. And I believe that it's all about having healthy expectations. If your expectation is to come here and you're going to find a very inexpensive home and everything's going to be perfect and the job market's going to be amazing and you're going to have all the opportunities that you had when you were in California, when you have those expectations, you might find that it's not quite the place for you, and you might be finding yourself in a situation where you want to move back. And I honestly think that understanding all of these different things is what makes my job so fun. I have people reaching out to me every single day right here from my YouTube channel. So if this is the type of content that really helps you and resonates with you, I would love it if you click the subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos. I'm coming out with videos each and every week to help guide people make the move to and from the state of Utah. So if you're looking for that guidance, my name is Scott Steele. I'm a local real estate agent, and my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. We love helping people discover all things Utah, including Utah real estate. And if you're looking for more information on life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until next video, thanks.